Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to the MC Lars podcast. It is Monday, February 3rd. This is episode 75 with Brian from the Gothsicles. I'm going on tour Wednesday on the Baby Yoda 2020 campaign trail with Schaefer the Dark Lord and the Double Clicks. They join me at the end. So be sure to grab your tickets because we are going to be all over the East Coast. The Midwest will be in the South. It's my only tour of the year. Doing some new songs, some songs I don't play a lot. Doing some live beat stuff on the Novation Launchpad with Ableton. Doing some freestyles, doing some guitar. Actually doing a lot of guitar. And there's so much good merch. Like, I'm tripping on all the amazing merch we have. So come see us. February 5th, Boston. February 6th, Brooklyn. February 7th, Philly. February 8th, Baltimore. February 9th, Carrboro, North Carolina. February 11th, Orlando, Florida. February 12th, Atlanta, Georgia. February 14th, Austin, Texas. February 15th, Dallas. February 16th, Oklahoma City. February 17th, Kansas City. February 19th, Minneapolis. February 21st, Chicago. February 22nd, Lakewood, Ohio, which is Cleveland, basically. The 23rd, Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is Greater Detroit. The 25th, Columbus. 26th, Rochester. I know me saying Greater Detroit is Ann Arbor. People from Detroit probably like, no, it's not. But the Detroit area, I guess I could say. And we're actually playing Winter Park, not Orlando. But anyway, it's going to be a great tour. Come say what's up. And I'm doing my Loki song this week. I'm dropping that. Then my Winter Soldier song. So for only $4 a month, you can get 2 new MC Lars songs and have access to my entire back catalog, which includes rarities and everything. And then there's essays and behind the scenes videos. The Lars Patreon is cool. I want to shout the Patreon Larsians who are making this whole creative project possible, and especially the podcast. Shout out to Tina, Megan, and Allison, the new ones. Shout out to the old ones, Rick, Laura, and Kelly. Thank you all very much. Let's get into it. This is my interview with Brian from the Gothsicles. I discovered him through the FuMP, which is the Funny Music Project, the Dr. Demento-inspired kind of nerd music, comedy music collective. And then I did a show with him at the Edgar Allan Poe Festival. And we actually collaborated on a song together with Rodney from the Dead Milkmen, which we'll hear about a Spanish teen vampire show that I'd never heard of called Chica Vampiro. So we did a version of that. It should be Chica Vampira, right? I don't know. Who cares? So that is at the end of this. This is my interview with Brian from the Gothsicles. Check out their music because they're funny and they're energetic, and Brian's like the main guy in the group. He's like, it's his project, but he enlists different musicians, and we have a great conversation, and we go deep in our love of industrial music. All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with Brian of the Gothsicles. We're both pre-social media fringe artists who have survived surprisingly long, right?
Yeah, it's just like keep getting gigs, lucky enough to be doing so. And you look back and then, oh man, it's been 20 years.
When you first started, did you have any idea it would last this long?
Like the idea was to, maybe we'll get to open for bands I like, and that way I can save myself the $8 cover charge, which is an astronomical amount of money when you're 20 years old. But it's gone to some really great places. That's kind of self-aggrandizing, but hey, you got to call them like you see them.
Where did you grow up?
In Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and then spent a significant amount of time in Chicago, so I'm kind of from there. And I've been in Boston for like a year and a half now. So I don't know if I'm from here yet, but like it's cool. I like it. I want to be from here.
It's funny, Milwaukee and Chicago, it's only like a few hours from there, right?
You can get there in an hour and a half. Like it's a pretty common move. Like if you're a happening rad dude in Milwaukee, you just eventually move to Chicago. Not that there's not friends and wonderful people in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I should say.
So Boston is home, would you consider?
Oh yeah. Now
the Midwest has always had a great history of industrial music, and going back to Ministry and 9 Inch Nails and everything. And so do you think being from the Midwest made you fall in love with that type of dark, like electronic music? Or do you think you would have been into it no matter where you were from?
I think I would have been into it no matter where you're from. Like in the sort of the dark ages, like let's say the mid '90s. The only bands I could find were European bands. Like if you knew the name of an industrial band, it was almost like a magic trick. Like, have you ever heard of Leatherstrip? And then I would slowly find these American industrial bands after the fact, and then realize like, holy crap, the Ministry is from Chicago, and NS used to live in Chicago, and Stromkern lives in Madison, Wisconsin. What? I thought he was German. And so it is a weird, like, finding the thing you were looking for was in your backyard the whole time. The power was inside of you all along. That sort of thing.
But I guess why do you think industrial music has such strong roots in the Midwest and in Chicago? Like, is there a reason for that?
There is a great documentary out now and one coming out that focus on this subject. One is on the history of Wax Trax, which was like a kind of just before my time, sort of pivotal industrial record store in Chicago. And there's another one coming out called Chicago, the History of Industrial Music. In the first one, Industrial Accident, the Wax Track one, Groovy Man, lead singer of My Life with a Thrill Kill Cult, posits that it's sort of the other thing, like all the hip and happening people are on the East and West Coast, and the middle is sort of for the freaks. His words, according to tastemakers. But I don't know, man. There is sort of a bleak factory-like landscape that lends itself to wanting to sort of break out. And industrial music can be very isolationist. I think a lot of people, myself included, if I'm honest, start going down this road because you can do it with yourself and a laptop. You don't have to organize like a whole band. And the Midwest, I think, can lend itself to staying in when it's a million degrees below zero. Maybe that has something to do with it.
Cities and places that are kind of like inclement weather in the winter, those have created great music scenes. Like there's so many great bands from Minnesota and
totally
freezing places and Northern England, right? Talking about the origin of like beat music, right?
It's rainy and cold. You gotta wake yourself up, I guess.
So I've known about your music before I met you, and then you and I did a song with Rodney, right? The Chica Vampiro?
That craziness. But it was just Rodney going, you should do this to me.
He's like one of those people it's amazing that he knows everyone.
Like, I'm sure we could do a podcast just on Rodney stories.
I was so amazed by getting to know him over the years, just how he knows so much about dark and industrial music.
I listen to, Frontline Assembly or Skinny Puppy or whatever, but I'm motivated to write songs about how I think otters are cool. Like, so it works its way in there.
What was your connection with the like Dr. Demento FuMP?
Luke Ski's ex-wife went to the same club I used to go to, the Inferno in Madison, Wisconsin. And we were just doing our Gothsicles thing. They're still friends, and she's like, "You ever heard of Luke Ski?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a nerd from Milwaukee. Like I never met him or anything. I just knew who he was." And she goes, "Do you want to play a show with them?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay," not knowing what at that time the fan run con was. I'd been to Gen Con a million times. That was in like my backyard. So I knew the big exhibition hall thing, this giant thing. And I had yet to be exposed to, rocking the Hiawatha room at a Holiday Inn. So So we show up and I'm like, I don't know what this is, but this is amazing. I met the aforementioned Worm Quartet, who I just come across by complete chance on mp3.com. I know that they were talking about it on a previous episode, but he was there. It was just this crazy aligning of fates where it's like, now I'll be playing like a goth theater in Helsinki, and then smash cut to like where my Klingons at whatever con in a DoubleTree. People that heretofore live in the computer, and now we're talking about Nintendo games or whatever. It's great.
How did you first come up with the name of your group?
At Union South in Madison, if you wanted to go to the all ages, no drinking, university sponsored goth night, which is like where me and my friends went, like I said it in response to something. Like I don't remember what the joke was, but I just said the word Gothsicles, and then as I'm starting to get away from the Yamaha QY10 sequencer and actually get onto like Cubase and stuff, I was just like, I'll call this project the Gothsicles for now. That got a laugh a week ago, and now it's a million years later and we're still the Gothsicles. I always thought it kind of worked like how like ska bands work in the word ska often. It's kind of like that.
Right. So what you're getting, or like when nerdcore started happening, MC meant that, it's a rapper, but they're calling themselves MC even though it's 20 years after that was cool to do.
Right. Like I said before, like it all kind of boils down to you and a piece of software anyway. But for live play, there's a ton of great people in the world, and for those Virginia shows particularly, I get two pretty awesome guys that definitely know their way around a keyboard. So yeah, we're up to like 30 rotating members and stuff. But
how much time do you put into those videos, and do you update them through the years, or do they feel like
I can't make a joke about like a commercial or something that was on TV in 2002 and expect it to land, or I get better at video editing, or I'll often throw in some in-jokes for a crowd or something like that. Yeah, it's pretty meticulously constructed. I mean, I don't have a lot of musical talent, so I like to supplement that with visual jokes.
Yeah.
A lot of times people will say like, you should totally play, this video I found on YouTube as the backing video. I'm like, I'm not just going to steal somebody else's thing. Like I may reference it, but let's make our own stuff. And I'll commission things to get made every now and then. Like if it looks really slick, I probably commission that one to be made. But it's it's a part of the show. So yeah, I will not just completely just gank something off the internet and be like, look what I stole.
When did home synthesizers become a technology in the first place, right?
I bought an Alesis HR16 drum machine off of eBay for like $100, an astronomical amount of money at the time. That was in high school. I had a band, air quotes band, called Sleeping Disorder. That I transitioned a lot of that knowledge in some of the songs over to the Gothsicles when I started getting into software. But it was that it's an interesting thing, because like that was always part of the appeal of the music to me. Like when I'm just like 16-year-old Brian, like I know what a punk band is. I've seen 8,000 billion punk bands. I'm listening to Birmingham 6 right now, and I don't know how this was done. Like, did a wizard come down and shoot a magical spell at this tape that my friend Pat dubbed for me? Like, it was this absolutely lockbox of a world. So unpacking that one little piece of gear at a time with the Yamaha QY10, basically just sorting eBay by price and saving up for the cheapest thing. About 1998 is when the real, like, electronically, like there's horrific punk bands that you just sort of scream into a microphone for, and you call yourself a band, but really like began in earnest about 98.
Did you have a 4-track, or were you recording digitally, or?
I didn't have a wildly classical training, and so Madison, Wisconsin is a college town, and like so there's just these kiosks with a bunch of flyers on them, and I remember there's just a guy who was like advertising his home studio. So I just, I went there like on the bus. I could have been killed. I was just some guy, and we banged out. He probably had like a 4-track, like you said, and that's how the first recordings were done.
You had to be creative, right? Because it's like you couldn't rely on all this fancy technology. It was punk rock, quote unquote, in the sense that it really was about the message and the energy. You really have a distinctive vocal style that is like, when I hear one of your songs, I instantly know it's you, and I can't think anyone who sounds like you.
Thank you so much. Like every review I've ever had sort of begins with this tacit apology for my vocals, but that's just what comes out. Like I used to think that I was like some singular touched by the cosmos prodigy, and then like this one of a kind thing. And then my brother started making music, and he sings the exact same way. So I think it's just genetic. One of my mentors is another friend of Rodney's, Angel Spit, Australia's own. We used to both live in Chicago for a while, and I did a lot of recording with him, and like that's where I got a lot of vocal, like. He's like, Brian, Australian guy. I won't do his voice, but he's like, you can't start out at a 10. Like you're just going to turn people off if you're just like right out of the gate. So I try to, I think about it like, okay, I'm going to start out at a 5, but the chorus will be at a 10. But like, we can't go right to Z. That's going to turn people off.
Along that line, who are some of your favorite like gothic or industrial vocalists?
Leather Strip, sort of classic, on anybody's top 10 lists for all-time industrial artist, has this very bizarre vocal style. Like he sounds like a badass. He's not doing like sing-songy, but it's not unmelodic, and he'll do this just bird squawk every now and then, and that just blew my mind because it was so honest. That's just like the sound that's just coming out of his mouth, man. So Leather Strip, maybe number 1.
Okay.
I don't want to rank him because it's music, so it's kind of how you feel on the day. I will go with Angel Spit number 2, meaning the second thing I'm naming, not necessarily ranking. In that, like, I just remember having my mind blown because there's just like I'd never heard a guy shout without any sort of disguise. Like it was just this raw, like, I'm an Australian dude, and I'm not gonna like hide the accent at all. Not that like anybody ever does, but like it just really came through with his vocal quality. And I was like, this guy is not putting any emotional filters on it. Like that really impressed me. And goodness gracious, now that I'm working with like vocal effects for some side projects and things, sort of there's a misconception that all you have to do is like fart into this effects pedal and magical rainbow beams shoot out. Like, no, it's garbage in, garbage out, man. So you really got to work on making it sound good. So anybody like the aforementioned Suicide Commando or Nitro Noise or any of those guys are vocally very impressive to me.
Are you aware of an Australian band called Snog?
Are you a Snog fan?
I love that. I discovered them in high school. The EP, The Future. and I was hooked.
Yeah, I saw them
so tight.
I saw them play the craziest show. Like, I don't know if they like a build like a venue like fell through, but the last minute they played it like the craziest like sports bar in Chicago, like Red Line Grill. They got to play 3.5 songs before time ran out. They did Hooray second, so at least they got to hear that. But it was like, I've been waiting to see this band for 15 years, and it's better than nothing. Like, but it was just the craziest. Like, it's definitely them, but there's like the game on in the background.
I've never met anyone who's heard of them, honestly, and I think that I thought of anyone who knows them, you might be.
He comes out in a white suit with a They Live mask, and is like singing through this They Live mask. And he's got 2 keyboard players that are like in head to toe vinyl. Like, I was worried they were going to pass out because like it's like a full body condom vinyl. And I was just like, what?
Right.
I don't know what this is, but it's amazing. And, I guess I got a taste of the live Snog experience.
Right. I liked how they were, and they are, but like, especially that album, Buy Me, I'll Change Your Life. Like, the way their stuff was very political. And I like that song about 1984. Instantly, within 45 seconds, you kind of know what the song's going to be about. But the musical things are very catchy and unique, and they pull you in. And it's not just like stock production. And that comes from obviously that guy knowing his equipment and knowing, production, and being like, I get the feeling Snog is the main guy's project, and then he involves other musicians. And I see that similar to you, and that's what makes that project so interesting.
Oh, thanks, man. I mean, any comparisons to Snog, I will definitely take. But yeah, there's a lot of time in front of the DAW, man. Just banging this out and tweaking the littlest things. And yeah, absolutely. I'll bring other people in for production tips or the occasional guest vocal or remix or any of that.
Did you talk to him after the show?
Or like a little, just the dumbest stuff, like hi. I had the Hooray single in high school. Like, yeah, like it was like, yeah, my friend Mike was the tour manager. Mike plays in 1,000 bands, like the V&V Nation and now Information Society. Oh. And
oh wow,
I know, right? And he's like, you want to meet David? And I'm like, yeah, I want to meet David. And I don't remember what we talked about, just like TV or just some dumb thing. Like, I'm pretty good at this point in my life / air quotes career about not fanboying out. Like, I used to be pretty bad, but like now I can like not, totally turn into a gibbering mass on the floor. But like that one, I like band, like I was about that level.
Right. And I bet it's like, I bet he gets that a lot because I don't know if they tour in the US a lot.
There weren't a ton of people at the show. Like, I think there was like another like industrial dance night or like another goth concert going on the same night. Like, I remember people showed up like just in time for the show, and it was super duper weird. But yeah, I mean, like I doubt he just like it's not Chicago to Milwaukee, Australia to the States.
Speaking of venues and concerts, what are your favorite venues in Boston now that you're a Boston resident?
I got into, I kind of went back to my noise roots. The guy that I play with in Boston now does these sort of like private open mic noise shows, and that's pretty amazing. You get to sort of like test out new material if you want in front of like 10 people. Those are pretty great. In terms of public venues, we just found this like local community center-ish kind of thing, like like if Boston was an 80s movie, the anonymously evil corporate guy would want to plow this over and put up a parking lot. It's for the chip tune sort of scene. Like I'd been sort of trying to get in on the industrial tip, and then this group called Boston 8-Bit reached out, and it was great. So I'll say it's called The Jungle in Boston.
Okay, cool. I have not been there, but that sounds cool.
If there's soap and the door locks and you can see yourself in a mirror, I'm wildly impressed by your venue already, if the bathroom meets those three conditions.
Yeah, that's a win already. That's huge.
Right. Like,
how do you stay so, and as you're so active on social media, like what are your secrets?
Don't let things sit for too long. At least I don't, because
right.
It's the, it's then it becomes the poster you've had rolled up in the corner of your room for a year and a half that you'll get to someday, but now you've normalized it. And that's just where that poster that's rolled up in the corner of the room sits. So,
right.
So kick it out sooner. And it doesn't have to be that hard. Like somebody will say, like, can you do guest vocals on a track? Believe it or not, I get asked for guest vocals. And yeah,
right.
Crack open the mic and kick it out, and it's done. And now it lives forever on the internet.
I don't think if MC Lars were like a group of people, I would have survived this long.
100%, like for sure. Like, I mean, that's what I was talking about before with like most like electronic musicians I know are pretty isolationist. Like I can have that MCR or that MC303 or Fruity Loops or whatever, and I don't have to coordinate, somebody's work schedule or, infighting or anything like that. So that the solo aspect of it definitely helps. I work from home now, which is awesome, which gives me like an extra hour in the day when I was commuting to downtown Boston. So that helps too. I'm
curious, do you have a favorite album of all time by any artist?
Yes, it is Kraftwerk's Dements-inspired specifically the German language version. I'm not trying to be elitist. There's some tiny little like jokes that I don't think translate as well into English. There is such a love of the electronic sound with a pop sensibility, and it's a short album. Like it's under half an hour, and it gets in. It does the job like a ninja and smoke bombs out. And every time I listen to it, it's one of those albums I can't listen to a song of. Like it's an experience for me. Like I have to like commit to listening to it.
They did a version in German and a version in English.
Yeah.
You're saying?
Yeah, the English one's pretty good. Like, I mean, they did a pretty good job of translating the spirit of one song into another with all the, the goofy little language jokes and she's a model and she's looking good. Like you fit the cadence of something that was written for another language. Like it's pretty good. I just prefer the German version.
That's interesting. So you understand German?
Yeah. I did like a year abroad there, and I don't speak German too much anymore. Really, only in like green rooms because a lot of industrial bands are German. But yeah, there's a Gothsicles track or two auf Deutsch, and yeah, I was like a German major in college, which means I can talk to bands in green rooms. That's pretty much all my undergrad is being used for right now.
And understand the original version of German albums, right?
Yeah. I think I've done 8 papers on Kraftwerk in like college German classes.
Right. That's tight. I mean, and speaking of Kraftwerk, it's interesting how the crossover of industrial and electronic music and hip hop. And one of my first introductions to rap was this compilation. I don't know if we talked about it, but it's called Operation Beatbox. That was like,
hell yeah, Operation Beatbox.
You know that?
Tick tock, tock, tick tock, tick. Christ, analog down with the murder. Yeah.
Explain what that is to listeners. I think
Operation Beatbox is, for better or for worse, a cover CD, a cover compilation CD of industrial bands doing raps, like classic hip hop tracks. Christ Analog, who does Natural Born Killers, later became a pretty good buddy. And
oh, cool.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's all Chicago stuff. And he finally broke down and did it live once. So I have seen that track performed live. But it's a pretty awesome classic 90s industrial comp if you're into that sort of thing.
And what I liked about it is in the liner notes, the dude from the label Reconstriction, he talks about how industrial and hip hop really at a certain point, like once Run DMC discovered the drum machine, the instruments that were making both of these subgenres were very similar. And I think what's so interesting aesthetically, it highlights that.
Great Reconstriction reference. Goodness gracious. It's the same machine. Like, we're going to open up the decay on this, whatever, 303 and just get that, like this industrial fart and, build a genre around it.
People like Dre would eventually one day, like, I think he mixed or produced some of the stuff on The Fragile.
People go really deep on that band, and I am not one of them. I don't know.
So you never really were huge into Nine Inch Nails?
I mean, like, Pretty Hate Machine, I think, came out in 1990 and should not exist.
I think it's 89, man.
89, okay. Like,
yeah.
Ring Finger will pack a dance floor on any night, any industrial night anywhere. It's unreal.
Right.
That being said, for me, there are people that like will go watch the latest Star Wars movie in the theater, and then there are people that get like really, really deep into Star Wars. And I'm in this metaphor, I'm going to see the movie in the theater guy.
Right.
So like they always had like a real kind of like a polish and like a really, really high production value that like it almost turned me off a little bit. Like I want something a little bit more basement-y for my personal taste. They
were a band that Nine Inch Nails, right? Like became a very mainstream thing. And I wonder if industrial heads back in the 80s and 90s were kind of like, hey, who is this guy? Right?
Oh yeah, Nine Inch Nails, like they're the industrial band that my mom has heard of, right? Like,
what can we promote? Like anything you have coming up, and or any shows or anything. And also, let's shout out all your social media channels so everyone can make sure they're following your prodigious output.
February 14th, check out the Gothsicles in Roanoke, Virginia. Then in the middle of March, we're doing Madison, Wisconsin, Minneapolis, Minnesota, and La Crosse, Wisconsin. Then we're in towards the end of March, the Dark Side of the Con Festival in New Jersey with goodness gracious, any band you could name, Das Ich, Birthday Massacre, the aforementioned Suicide Commando. Then in April, we're going across the pond to play Resistance Festival in Sheffield. That's back. That's going to be cool. We are playing. That's for the Gothsicles so far. The dark, spooky, scary side project Gasoline Invertebrate should be out very soon. I accidentally started running a record label that now has bands from all over the world. Check out Tiger Squawk Records or tigersquawkdigital.com. Also just out, if you're down with the whole synthwave thing, me and Finnish synthwave sensation Nightstop just put together a 4-song EP of the Nightsicles. Get it? We're creative. Check that out at thenightsicles.bandcamp.com. That is all I can think of. I realized that con we played together, the Poe one, RavenCon, there was a kid at that show whose mom is Angel Metro, great musician, friend of mine. He apparently told his mom that he's starting a band with me called Agrofist, and then we actually went and did it. So Agrofist is a real song that exists. So many side projects. TheGothsicles.com, Facebook.com/TheGothsicles, Instagram.com/Gothsicles. One more thing. I have also a podcast called Industrial Nerds and a video sort of live streaming show called Space Couch, where I interview luminaries and magnates of music from a couch in space.
I think that I am, not to spoil it, but I might be a guest coming up this spring on Space Couch.
I would do 18 backflips if MC Lars would be a guest on Space Couch. The Scientology track, I mean, I remember like being at my old crappy tech support job and watching the video for Download This Song, and it's just like turning my day around.
That's tight.
So any appearance from Amigo Vampiro MC Lars on Space Couch would be amazingly welcome.
All right, cool. Well, we'll make that happen, and I appreciate you inviting me. And it's cool. I've never done this where like I've interviewed a friend on my show, and then they've invited me onto their show. So we'll have like a follow up on what's been happening since between now and then.
I mean, all the questions left unanswered from the MC Lars podcast
will be answered on Space Couch. Holler. Brian, thank you for coordinating this. Thanks for, I know you're busy. I know you're an active man. Thank you for being on the show.
This is great. I mean, I think you're awesome. And I got to talk about myself for an hour. So two of my favorite things.
Same. I think you're awesome. And I would love to do another project. I think that Chica Vampiro is dope, but I also think we could do something maybe more relatable or more understandable.
Yeah. Well, you mean TV shows no one's ever heard of ever aren't on the number one thing the kids talk about?
Those are the things that you remember, right? Taking chances on weird concepts. So we'll play that song now, and where can people find it? Is it on Spotify?
Yeah, at one point there were a bunch of remixes of it. It's SoundCloud. Put it into that website and it'll come up, unless some other weirdo wrote a song, a competing Chica Vampiro song.
So after you listen to the podcast, if you want to put it on your SoundCloud playlist, I just found it. It's on the Gothsicles SoundCloud. Wow, it got a lot of plays. 5,000 plays. That's pretty good.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the Dead Milkman and MC Lars and some other guy. Like, you can't go wrong.
Tight. All right, cool. Well, Brian, thank you, man. I will talk to you soon, and this has been a great talk.
Saturday, 1 o'clock. I turn the TV to Mondo Fox, 'cause there's a show I've got to watch. There's a show that just plain rocks. A high school girl named Daisy O'Brien, who's also a vampire. I ain't lying. The acting's better than Robert De Niro. It's time to watch. Everybody dig a great, dig a great. 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 Everybody dig reruns of Buffy can be okay, but I just can't watch them every day. Not when there's so much at stake. So drop that hero, get with the zero. It's time to watch. Everybody dig a grave, dig a grave. 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 Chica Vampiro, me gusta mucho, telenovello, amor y justo, Colombian hit, niños pequeños, scaring their parents and haunting their sueños, Max de la Torre, puede bailar, cuando Ulysses y Brian is far, Twilight is not, but still rock the spot, Chica Vampiro, voy a mirar a lot.
Y alguien que ha demostrado tener cierto talento para el baile, algunos dotes para el canto. Y bueno, tiene problemas de actuación, pero para eso estamos, para aprender. La señorita Daisy O'Brien. Quiero ver qué tal este par de ardillas de discoteca. ¿Qué tal este par de ardillas de discoteca? Everybody dig a grave, dig a grave. 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 Everybody dig a grave, dig a grave.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. I'm glad we could drop that song. It's time for the Patreon Larson of the week. This week we got Nick in the Netherlands who tells a story of discovering my music.
Hey Lars, Nick de Rijver from the Netherlands, calling in from mainland Europe. I discovered your music way back when I was listening through some Boiling for Soup songs and found your Download This Song, which you did with Jared Reddick. Have been a fan ever since, discovered a lot of music through your collaborations, and have been a fan of nerdcore and all the other genres ever since, to the hate of my wife, which doesn't really appreciate my newfound music style. Really hope to see you or any other artists on mainland Europe one day. Don't really have the opportunity to go to the US or UK, so I hope some of them will come to the Netherlands one day. And to all the other European fans out there, we hope that we can discover more of your music thanks to the internet. Thanks, bye.
Thank you, Nick. Great story. I hope to come back to mainland Europe one day. It's been too long. The only time I ever really did it was Zebrahead, and that was an amazing experience. But I hope to return, and definitely to the UK, probably next year sometime. I'll be back in the UK at least. Next week, we got Matt from Wheatus, and it's actually his birthday. Matt Milligan from Wheatus' birthday today on the 3rd. But next week is with Matt. NerdcoreTour.com for tickets. Thanks, Brian, for being on the show, and we'll see you all soon. Bye.